With the latest agriculture news from across the state and nation, it's time for the AgNet News Hour from AgNet West. Here's your host, Sabrina Halverson.
Good morning. I'm Sabrina Halverson. Lori Boyer is off today. And with Lori being off today, we have a little bit of a different format for you. As we've been talking about, Brook Rollins has become the 33rd U.S. Secretary of Agriculture. After she was confirmed last week, she was immediately sworn in and went to work at the USDA. She gave her first address last Friday during her welcome reception. We have for you now her full address.
Well, what a joy to be here. That was a great introduction. I tell you what, the people and the men and women of this department that I have already met, we had a really important briefing last night on the avian bird flu right over here in my new office, and I was just so impressed, and I think it is such a great sign of things to come, and I'm so grateful. I don't have a list of special guests in front of me, but I did see Chairman G.T. Thompson when I was walking in the doorway. Where are you, Mr. Chairman? There you are. Thank you. God bless you. And forgive me if there are other elected officials in the audience. We'll get to you. But I also want to introduce a very special guest. My mom is here with me. There's Helen Kerwin in the back. A lot of you know this story, but I grew up in a very small town on the plains of Texas. And listen, we didn't have a lot. My mom was a single mom. I had two little sisters, Helen and Ann. They're often here with us too, but they went home yesterday. But my mom did it all herself. And so I know that there's a lot of different examples of the American dream, but I feel as if I am living it at the highest and most amazing point being here with you today. But whatever I owe first to God and my Savior, Jesus Christ, but also to this woman over here, my mom, Helen Kerwin. Thank you, Mom. And by the way, if you're not following me on social media, you may not know this, but she is the oldest freshman state legislator ever elected in the state of Texas and was just sworn in 2 weeks ago. So it's the Honorable Helen Kerwin, everybody. She'll be fighting for us in Texas. It is the honor of a lifetime to serve as the nation's 33rd Secretary of Agriculture and a privilege beyond description to have the trust of President Donald J. Trump and the opportunity to advance his agenda here with all of you. That agenda is, of course, the agenda of the whole American people, among whom the men and women of American agriculture stand in the very first rank. In my confirmation hearing just a few weeks ago before the U.S. Senate Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry, I said that all Americans are important, but the farmer is the American important to all Americans. That isn't just rhetoric, it is the truth. And here at the United States Department of Agriculture, the tens of thousands of us who serve from sea to shining sea, we walk in the light of that truth in all that we do. That means first and foremost understanding what we do and why. There is great purpose and deep history underlying our work, and it is our North Star. With it, with the knowledge that our revolution was started and fought and won primarily by our farmers, with the knowledge that the American founders understood agriculture and its stewards to be the prerequisite for democratic civics, with the knowledge that Abraham Lincoln understood agriculture to be fundamentally the business of the people in ways no other concern of government was or could be, with the knowledge that we defend a way of life and the constitutive stuff of American liberty in ways no other federal department does. We understand the charge laid before us. We understand that we are not just administrators here at USDA. We are stewards. We understand that we are not just federal employees here at USDA. We are servants to the people and to all Americans. And we understand here at USDA that we do not just have a job, we have a mission. You are my people and I am yours. We have much to do together. We all know this sitting in this room. The need is acute. You all know, and America's farmers and ranchers know most of all, that American agriculture is in its worst economic straits in nearly a century, with grave challenges on prices, on markets, and on labor intersecting all at the same time. You also know that there is a great conversation underway among the American people about agriculture, food, and health. These are challenges and conversations we cannot avoid, and we do not wish to do so. We will be at the center of both, and we will meet them both with professionalism and patriotism that is the foundation of this department and our mission together. Both those qualities were on stark display in the past several weeks in the firefighters of our own U.S. Forest Service who answered the call to defend Americans and American homes in the face of a literally hellish disaster. The bravery, steadfastness, and selfless service of our men and women who stood against the flames is an example to us all. And let's give all of them a round of applause. I know several of our leaders are here today. They lived our principles of service, risking their lives to do so, and we must give no less, each in our own sphere.
We are listening to the first address from the new U.S. Agriculture Secretary, Brook Rollins. We continue now.
Those principles of our service are crystal clear, set forth by the president and the 2.5 centuries of American tradition standing behind his thought. Working alongside the men and women of USDA and all of you who are friends that are here and our stakeholders, we will ensure that American agriculture feeds all America and the world besides. We will ensure that American farmers and ranchers and producers compete on a world stage that is fair on terms that put America first. We will keep the trust handed us in our programs to fight disease, to feed the needy, to manage our land and our forests, and most of all, to work for all of American agriculture. We will work to ensure that making America great again is also aligned with making America healthy again. They will not exist in opposition to one another, but as a complement and a common mission for our country. But in that conversation, I will always defend American agriculture at the table. When we do it, we will do it with a professionalism and a candor grounded in our efforts to defend and deserve the whole heritage of American ag. That means we will be doing some new things in this department. Some of it we've done before, some of it will be new. All of it will be aligned with the intent, the vision, and the purpose of President Trump and the Americans who elected him. First and foremost, we are proud to invite the Department of Government Efficiency here into USDA. They're already here. They've been here for a few weeks, but we are welcoming the efforts because we know that that work will make us better here at USDA. It will make us stronger, it will make us faster, and it will make us more efficient. We will expect full access from all of our teams here at USDA to this effort. And in the days and the weeks to come, I look forward to personally working with all of you and that team as well for a better and stronger USDA. Second, we will end identity politics, identity celebrations, and DEI here at USDA and across all of the federal government. We will neither commemorate nor celebrate our immutable characteristics, neither among ourselves nor among Americans at large. We will instead celebrate the things that make America the best in the world, our merit, our faith, and our liberty first among them. All of our country and all of our people deserve equal dignity, and at this department, we will be the model for that. On the precipice of the 250th anniversary of our American Revolution, we will rededicate to ourselves to the proposition that all men are created equal. Third, we will focus USDA on our core mission of supporting American farming and ranching and forestry. We will work with both the White House and Congress to get it done. This is a long-term effort, but it begins now. This department must return to its basic purpose, and we will work to do so together. And finally, we will return all of our personnel to the workplace, whether that workplace is an office or a farm. Our farmers and ranchers don't work from their homes, and neither will we. They are our models, and we will follow their example. Understand that these are not just expectations from me. These are expectations from the American people, and especially from our American farmers and ranchers who deserve nothing less. We will meet our responsibilities just as the Americans whom we serve do every single day. My promise to you is that I will deliver the same that I ask of you. Each of us has a primary and sole responsibility to the American people, and when and if we remember that, all else will follow. Our goals are ambitious, but over the next 4 years, I am confident that we can position American agriculture to meet the challenges of the present and to continue to lead into the future. American ag is and always will be the best in the world. Here at USDA, our service is grounded in the deepest truth of this nation, that we are a people who pioneer the frontier. We settle the plains, we push the bounds of innovation, and never stop envisioning new horizons. Together, we are going to bring greater prosperity, greater opportunity, and greater stability to rural communities across this great country, and we will do so faster and better than ever before. Thank you all. And now let's get to work serving the greatest customers in America and the world, all of Americans, but our farmers, our ranchers, and our rural communities. God bless America. Thank you, God. And thank you all here at the USDA. I can't wait to work with all of you. Have a great day. God bless.
That again, U.S. Agriculture Secretary Brook Rollins. We go to Chuck Zimmerman, who was at the recent Cattle Industry Convention and Trade Show, CattleCon 2025. Here's Chuck Zimmerman.
At CattleCon 2025, I have with me Caitlin Glover. And first of all, for folks that don't know, tell us what you do for NCBA.
Chuck, I'm Caitlin Glover. I'm the Executive Director of Government Affairs, and I lead the Natural Resources team. So our team does everything from soil health to air quality and everything that's sandwiched in between, whether you're talking about the interaction between cattle production and wildlife, clean air, clean water, wildfire, of course, and anything that affects that natural environment where cattle producers are really focused on cultivating, optimizing their production, and managing the land and resources around them.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity today to interview almost all of the Environmental Stewardship Award winners.
They're incredible, aren't they?
It's fascinating, the different types of practices they've put into place and what that means, and to me it's fascinating anyway. So with that kind of, whether it's projects like that or others, what are some of the things right now that are kind of like your most important programs that you're working on?
So, I think if you've had the chance to talk to all of the ESAP winners, you see that there is so much diversity in their operations. The amount of water that they have, their precipitation, right? Their environments, whether how close they are to town, how they came into the cattle business, and how they have grown their family's relationship with the land, and really that diversity it can be boiled down to essentially one core principle that I do my work on in government affairs, and it's the fact that one size doesn't fit all. When you're talking about environmental regulations, when you're talking about farm programs, when you're talking about the kind of things that help producers or just allow producers to do that good work, you need to make sure that the government isn't interfering with them. And so as we're going into this new administration, we hold that tenet really close. We are going to be working with the administration to right size some of the overreaching regulatory environments that we've seen over the past several years. Things like the Endangered Species Act, some changes that the last administration made to the National Environmental Policy Act, things that make it harder for producers to do their everyday work, and things that could perhaps, if they were allowed to continue, might put people off the kind of practices that you're seeing with those ESAP winners, but moreover, it not only does it put people off, but it inhibits them from doing that good work. We want healthy landscapes. We want these healthy waterways, and we need the regulatory freedom to allow them to do those things.
So you have a team that works with you on this, right?
I do, yeah.
So how do you kind of divide up different projects, or do you just how does the team work together?
So the team works together seamlessly. We are very lucky that there's a lot of crossover between public land, private land, those environmental issues, because when you're talking about natural resources, water is water and land is land, even if the ecosystems are different. I, as the director of the team, my policy portfolio tends to lean more heavily on public land, that federal land that's mostly in the West. But the things that, the wildlife refuges, the National Park Service lands, Bureau of Land Management, Forest Service, and all the things that happen for those federal grazing permittees. I have another colleague who primarily handles the wildlife and some of those other multiple use concerns. He is our ESA expert. He's wonderful. And then our chief counsel also operates on this natural resource team, and she is our resident farm program expert, clean water, clean air, PFAS, of course, all of the things that happen in the landscape from that other environmental EPA regulatory side. But she also has a very acute legal mind, right? So she is helping us navigate a lot of the things that end up in court, because so much of natural resource management over the last 10 or 15 years has been driven by litigation. And so the way we all work together, we cross those public and private land boundaries to make sure that we are able to work and serve the producers who are all here at CattleCon this week in a fulsome way.
So with the type of work and projects that you're doing, as we get to the summer meeting, is there work that has to be done there that involves things like with public land and et cetera?
Oh, absolutely. So, when we're looking at what Congress is doing and we're looking at what the administration is doing, there are going to be a lot of things that change between now and NCBA's summer business meeting in July. We are going to see this administration ramp up their work, and Congress is well underway. Whether we're talking about some regulatory reforms, again, EJA, ESA, NEPA, and the like, or whether we're talking about the ability to get some legislation, some key bills over the finish line. Things like using targeted grazing for wildfire reduction. Things like making the permitting process faster, so that bureaucratic red tape doesn't prevent grazing or prevent that good infrastructure work. All of those things are going to be well underway and have some progress by our summer meeting. And so my team and I are we keep the momentum rolling in Washington, knowing that there are going to be probably innumerable issues that crop up where we're going to be addressing those with our producers in that time too.
Well, before we close, is there anything else that you might want to talk about that we didn't touch on?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that this administration, we're probably going to see some change, and this is across both public and private land. There is a very clear directive from President Trump that he is focused on energy dominance and really making sure that domestic energy production is strong again. And so on a very early executive order, he declared a national energy emergency and directed some expedited permitting, getting things rolling. But that didn't extend to wind and solar. And so one of the things that we've seen over the last 5 or 8 years has really been an increase in solar siting across the country. In the East, there have been some very big concerns about conversion of prime ag land to these solar farms, because where is your open space on private land? It tends to be in those farming communities. In the West, the last administration set aside 31 million acres for solar development into the future. Then that solar development would impact grazing. It would take land out of grazing production for these cattle and this livestock. And so that tone is going to shift in this administration, I anticipate. And so that is, I think, something that we're going to be watching very closely and working with this administration and this Congress, because our priority is always to make sure that producers have the business options that they need. Certainly we support those private business decisions, but at the end of the day, we really want to see those grazing lands maintained and remain in grazing activities. And so as we're moving forward, I think that's probably one hot and button issue that we'll see continue to develop.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Caitlin, for visiting with me here. We're at CattleCon 2025. I'm Chuck Zimmerman.
Here's Sabrina Halverson.
We continue now from the Cattle Industry Convention held recently in Denver. Here's Chuck Zimmerman.
At CattleCon 2025, I'm visiting with Mark Isley. And Mark, you're president at the moment of NCBA, and you've had a very interesting year. Tell me a little about your year as president.
It's been an outstanding year. I have gone places and seen things and visited with people that I would never have normally had access to. Humble, excited about the future, very, very forward-thinking. That's been great. I've seen some tragedy. I've seen some heartwarming things. It's been a real blessing. I wouldn't have given it away for anything.
What do you think about CattleCon in San Antonio now?
I think CattleCon is coming along. Looks like we're going to we're setting a blistering pace for attendance. That's the first thing. I mean, people are doing good, feeling good about the market, feeling good about probably the new administration. They want to look at technology. They want to network with old friends, and it's going to be good. I have high optimistic hopes, and from the smiles I'm seeing, that's where we're going to be.
So what do you think about the new administration and maybe your thoughts with your counterparts, with your members?
Sure. We would have been in a real world of hurt if we hadn't changed administrations. Not just from the Western perspective, but anybody that's got livestock, dealing with water, dealing with environmental issues, dealing with market issues, so on and so forth. So we got our break. Now we have to capitalize on that and make it work. We can't play poker with this guy. He knows what he's wanting to do, so we can't jump to conclusions. We've got to kind of let him play his hand. We have some inroads to his administration, and they understand where we need to be. And as the largest, most credible livestock producer in the D.C. circle, that's pretty special. So we're not going to mess with that. Make sure that he understands our policies and he can help us carry them out. But it's a game where we have to work with him and see how it plays out.
I'm imagining the staff at NCBA in particular are going to be what they do every year anyway, but they'll be on the Hill and they'll be talking to new people, and that's a good thing.
Well, absolutely. You know, we're a bipartisan outfit. We'll work with anybody that moves our industry forward. And so we were ahead of the elections before anything was decided, before anybody was thought or told or polls indicated something. We were already working with both camps, and in particular this camp, and the off chance they got in, and made sure that they understood where our grassroots people are coming from.
Whether it's, with some of the interviews that I know you've been doing here or just some of your members, what would be like a top-of-the-mind issue or question that they want to talk about?
Well, gosh, there's several that they want to talk about. Some of our indications that there's some equal concern about different things. Kind of depends on where you're living. I think we cut two big breaks this year with the Supreme Court decisions on waters of the U.S. and what they call the Chevron deference. That was a nice thing. We don't have an onerous set of rules and regulations coming at us. So how do we build on that? And I think that may be one of the first things, because no matter where you're at, I think the second one, and this is my personal, I don't know if I want to say affection or affliction, but I'm deeply concerned about taxes. We have got to do something with the tax code. It's trying to hit a moving target every year. It changes every 4 years. We'd like some certainty built in that so producers can do long-term succession planning and tax preparation. And that's all we've really asked for. If we lose some of those things in this tax code they're proposing, stepped-up basis, 1031 exchange, 179 exemptions, those kind of depreciating issues, we're really in trouble. It's going to be hard for us to have successful succession. So I think that, and if you throw the death tax in on top of it, it's a real problem. All the things in the world, genetics, marketing, transportation, none of that matters if you lose the place to taxes.
Well, before we close, anything else you might want to tell folks out there that we didn't touch on?
You know, I've had a wonderful year. I have had a wonderful officer team. Our staff is great. Our members are outstanding because they support us and stand by us, and they tell us what they need to have out in the country. So for that, I'm just thankful and grateful I'm where I'm at in this industry.
All right, Mark, great to talk to you again. And here at CattleCon 2025, I'm Chuck Zimmerman.
We're heading to Brian Winnekins, who is speaking with an expert about AI in agriculture.
Joining us this morning is Doug Johnson. He is CEO of Johnson Ag Outlook, and he was the keynote speaker at the recent Chippewa Valley Agriculture Conference talking about disruptors in the world of agriculture. Oh, boy. And I think there's a whole bunch of those. And Doug, thank you for joining us this morning. All right, the first one I'm going to think of is going to be AI. But how can AI work in agriculture?
Well, Brian, first, thanks for having me on here. This whole AI movement, revolution, evolution, what I'm talking about here is we've got to be careful on what we expect out of it. Right now, if you go and do AI for just, let's say, searching information, it'll give you answers, but what I'm finding is the answers are not as accurate right now. It's in the early learning, and my concern in our society is, are we diligently fact-checking the answers that we receive from this AI tool? Now, in agriculture, if you look at AI and the technology, now, hey, there's a whole new world out here that it could enhance development. I talk about spot sprayers using lasers instead of chemicals. Talk about cell phone apps where you can actually go to the cattle sale and you can point your phone right at the cattle and it'll tell you the weight of the cattle. So there is all kinds of new AI technology available. That's not what I'm concerned about. I think that's awesome. What I'm concerned about is, as we go in and say, tell me about X, and we use AI and it gives us an answer, Brian, what I have found is AI is more inaccurate, it is more biased than being accurate and unbiased. And I have examples that I talk about today.
So now, I would think that from an agriculture side of this, is the biasness is if I type in benefits of, I'll just throw one out there, benefits of drinking raw milk, the AI is going to might be biased towards, well, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it's not talking about all the other dangers.
So where does AI get its information from? The internet. In part, AI gets information from Facebook, the ultimate news source, right? That everybody laughs about. So AI is looking at what is the most populous opinion out there and says, well, that must be truth. That's not. I've got examples of AI. So this lab-raised meat movement, the other thing I talk about, lab-raised meat. I went into AI and I typed in, I said, now follow my words, is lab-raised meat better than farm-raised meat? And it said yes. And then it gave me reasons why lab-raised meat is better. We both know lab-raised meat is failing in its development. It is not better for the environment. It's not cost-effective, uses more water, blah, blah, the whole story. But AI said, yes, it's better. What if you were not in an ag area and you went on and you researched, is lab-raised meat better? And it said yes, you would buy it. So a lender actually said, don't ask about, is lab-raised meat better first? Ask, is farm-raised meat better than lab-raised meat? Reverse the way I asked the question. And I got a different answer. It's the exact same question, but I got two different answers based on, did I put lab meat first or farm meat first? This is where AI is not ready for answers yet. And I talk about there are 10 steps. When you search AI and you get an answer, there are 10 steps that you are supposed to go through to validate the accuracy of that answer. Brian, who's going to do that? Who in this world is going to do that? I don't do one step.
Talking with Doug Johnson, CEO of Johnson Ag Outlook, and he had a chance. We had a chance to talk with him during the Chippewa Valley Ag Conference. One of the other big, I guess, disruptors, and it's not a new technology thing. It's good old-fashioned workers. That is really because in a way, it's going to lead to some of these technology things out of sheer necessity.
So I have a slide, and I wish all the listeners could see that slide. I ask the audience, do you believe we have a worker shortage in society? All the hands go up. And I say, you know what? I disagree. We do not have a worker shortage. We have a work ethic shortage. That's a big difference. We paid people during COVID to stay home and not get to work, and now it's hard to find workers to do the job. So what had to happen? We had to evolve technology to do the work. And I've got pictures on the slides that I present of where there's scanners that go down to grocery aisles to do inventory. I've got food delivery carts because we can't get waiters, waitresses we can't get the help that we need, and on the farm. You know how hard it is to get farm help? We have to rely more and more. So this is where AI comes in, and it enhances the technology that we need to get the job done.
Doug, when you look at the worker ethic, and there's a lot of debate on that as well, but I'm going to use my daughter. Now, she's 28, and her brand new husband, he's 28. They've seen what happened to either me, owning the radio station, working 90 hours a week, or my daughter seeing what happened with her grandma, my mom, where she worked for a big company for 30-some years. The heads of the company run it into the ground. The head of the company gets the golden parachute. Yep. My mom loses her benefits because, well, thanks for playing. And my daughter's like, we're not doing that. Yep. And we are going to work to live, not live to work. Is that also, though, part of this that some of these younger folks are going, hey, wait a minute. You know what, Ma, Dad, congratulations on your great work ethic, but that's not going to be our life.
Correct. So when you talk about the work ethic, the ones that I'm talking about, probably very different than that. Your daughter, your son-in-law, they still want to work. They're going to work. I'm talking about the ones that are like, no, I'm capable, but I don't want to do that, and I'm entitled to a certain lifestyle. We all have to live within our means, right? Number one, whatever we do in life. So that's what I talk about on the work ethic, the difference.
Is there also, too, with again, you're not going to pay me enough. I'm willing to work, but you're not going to pay me enough to be a waiter, a waitress. You know what? You're not going to pay me enough if I'm out in California to work in a vegetable field. I been there, done that when I was a kid with my dad in his oversized garden. You can't pay me enough. Is that also, though, part of that too? So
that's exactly part of it, and that's why we have to rely more and more on technology to get the job done. And in AI, we're going to be talking about, or I'm sharing some of the stories, how you're going to hear AI is going to replace certain types of jobs. And maybe that's okay, but where are we going to go? So it's going to be interesting. The next 10 years, AI isn't ready yet, right? AI it's still in its learning moments. What I'm more concerned about, AI and technology and the whole worker shortage, where are the where are the borders, the guardrails going to be set up? We don't know that, Brian, and someone, I'm afraid, is going to be a horrible lesson out of this, where AI is going to take technology, where it's going to provide answers, and it's going to be a disruptor that could be to our advantage, but if it's unchecked, it could be an issue.
I always think of, with this AI, and again, maybe it's just me because I'm an old guy, but didn't anyone watch Battlestar Galactica and Terminator?
Yeah, exactly. Or the Star Trek series where they push a button and whoop, here comes your food, right? So, and I just saw in the news, ironically, there's a company, California, that invented a flying car. So it's like the drone. They put the drone propellers, and now it flies the car. And they have sold, 300 of them already that they're trying to get pre-sales. And it's not ready for market yet. But look where the technology and everything, the Jetsons, remember that old cartoon? Where are we going in society? This will be fun ride the next 15 years.
I don't know how fun it will be being the old guy because I have a hard enough time with my new phone. But that, again, Doug Johnson with Johnson Ag Outlook.
Thank you again to Brian Winnikins for providing that interview for us. This has been the AgNet News Hour. I'm Sabrina Halverson. Lori Boyer is back on Monday. Thank you for sharing your morning with me.
To get more information on the topics you heard today, visit AgNet West at agnetwest.com. You can also stay connected by following us on our social media at AgNet West on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Also look for Sabrina Halverson on Facebook, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast by searching for AgNet West on your podcast app. Thank you for listening to the AgNet News Hour from AgNet West. AgNet West Radio Network, your primary choice for agriculture news.